what happens is that when you start writing 10 things about a certain idea, it forces you to have to really dig into that topic and see it from different perspectives, different angles, different ways of, different experiences, you know. For example, 10 things about being an Indian in Hong Kong that people misunderstand me all about. Always. Every time someone meets me, they always ask me the same question, so I wrote down 10 things. For example, number 1 is, wow, how come you have so much hair? That's point number 1. Point number 2 is like, how come you don't wrap your head in a turban? You know? Point number 3, oh, do you travel with a flying carpet? I get that, you know. Oh, point number 4, oh, how come you don't smell like Indian people? You know, I can keep going on, but the point is that as I write those topics, then I can say, so let's say my topic today was to speak to you about being a foreigner in Hong Kong, you know. So when I do it that way, I've got those 10 points. Now with those 10 points, I can then expand each point. Like for example, point number 1, you're so hairy. So 10 things about being hairy that I can talk about. For example, I'm so hairy, and this is an interesting concept, is that I'm so hairy, I've never had a mosquito bite in my life. I only have mosquitoes trapped in my hair. I've never itched in my life. But the point is that that came about for me. It's kind of just like, what's funny about hair? What's interesting? Different things. Not a massive. I didn't write because it has to be funny, but it forces me to be creative and just think a little bit more about one topic. And that's where comedy is. It's really just a different perspective on something that everyone sees. That's all it really is. We've all been to the beach. We've all been under the sand, but I gave you that little different perspective. Many people have body hair, but I gave you that little different perspective of having mosquitoes trapped in that hair, you know? So that's really all comedy is. Because if I said something so bizarre that you couldn't believe it, you could not relate to me, you could not understand it, and you would not laugh. And if I said, hey man, I went to Mars, man, it's so cool. Like, I've never been to Mars, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. Maybe I talk about Indian culture in India. Oh, I went to Bombay and I went to this street, it was the best. Have you been to the street? No? Okay, you won't get the joke then. So that's the thing, you have to talk about things that in general in life, and also people can relate to you. Because another thing with comedy is that you need to know your audience and you're speaking to the audience. One thing I realized with me performing is that when I'm doing my comedy, it's not so much a presentation or a performance, it's more like a sharing. Like I'm just trying to share my life story with you guys. It just happens to have a lot of funny bits in it, you know, but I'm really just sharing. Like for example, when I do comedy in Cantonese, the first thing I do on stage is make fun of the fact that I speak Cantonese. Anybody who's seen my YouTube clip online knows that the first thing I went on stage for the Chinese competition amongst Chinese people, my turn came on. I went on stage, everyone's kind of silent. They're all probably thinking, where's the foreigner? What's going on? You know. First thing I say, Chinese, I know. Because I answer the first question everybody has. Because as long as you know that you've answered that question, they feel comfortable that, all right, okay, now I'm ready to listen to you. So one other thing that we have is always speak about the elephant in the room when you're doing comedy. Why? Because comedy is something you have to focus and listen and pay attention to. It's not like music. You know, you go into a lift, there's lift music, right? You will never have lift comedy. You know, you're like, oh, I'm on the 4th floor, ding! No, let me finish this bit. You know, it doesn't work that way. So with comedy, you have to pay attention. But if I'm too busy thinking about like, how did you speak Cantonese? I don't understand what's going on. They're so busy about that, they don't care what I'm saying. But once I kind of answer that question straight away, they feel relaxed. All right, cool. You know, he knows we're thinking that. That's fine. You know, keep going. Another good example is that I like to use comedy and say stuff where makes people interested in what I want to say next. For example, this is a Cantonese bit. I'll just say it and then I'll explain in English in a second. 我好中意話咧，係啲人見到我識講中文咧，身為一個外國人講中文咧，應該話。我成日都嚇到人㗎，係好有趣。點解咧？因為我有一次我記得喺茶餐廳坐低食嘢啦，咁我坐低對面咧有對情侶啦，咁我叫個伙計，咁啊伙計唔該寫嘢咁樣，對面嗰女仔好大聲咁樣，哇，識講中文嘅，跟住咧佢男朋友咧就同佢講話唔好嘈啦，識講就識聽㗎啦。The joke is that I started off by saying something that would provoke your interest. I said, being a foreigner who can speak Cantonese, I always scare people. So when I say that, you're automatically, really? I'm interested. Why? So you now pay attention. I've given you that setup of, okay, let me explain. So now you're interested, you pay attention, you listen to me. So then I draw the scenario. I go to a Chinese restaurant, I sit down, I make sure you can draw the picture. I must say that there's people opposite me, and there must be a couple, because you need to immediately draw two people, right? And then I just say that, you've drawn the picture in your head, and I say, call the waiter, waiter, I'd like to order now, please, in Cantonese. So I do that, again, a little bit pause so you can visualize that. Then I say, the girl opposite me suddenly goes, wow, he can speak Cantonese. Exaggerated, just to create the extra tension of like, where's he going with this? I don't know. Okay, interesting. Keep going. I'm really interested in where are you going with this? Also the exaggeration, because comedy is all about exaggerating reality. You have to exaggerate. Because A, stage performance, everything needs to be exaggerated. B, funny things are funnier when you make them even bigger than life. Alright? Now, so the girl says, wow, he can speak Cantonese. Very often, you will think that might be the funny bit. Oh, that's why they're scared. Oh my God, oh, he can speak Cantonese. You know, because I gave you the idea that I scare people. Now, you're laughing, you think it's over. But then I say,